Basically, it started as a joke, a viral meme that saw millions of young Indians embrace the label cockroaches after a controversial remark by India's Chief Justice. But what began as online satire is now spilling onto the streets of New Delhi. The so-called Cockroach Janta Party, or Cockroach People's Party, has become one of the country's biggest protest movements. After building online for months, the movement's founder, Abhijit Dipka, returned to New Delhi from the United States on Saturday to lead its first major street protest. The demonstrators are demanding the resignation of India's education minister, tapping into wider frustration over an exam grading scandal, youth unemployment, and a system many young Indians feel is failing them. Shalu Yadav is in Delhi at the protest where it's all happening. Shalu, tell us how significant the turnout there is. And I wonder, do you get the sense it represents a breakthrough moment for the movement?
Well, I'm just about 100 meters away from the protest site. It's on my left. We couldn't do this live from there because there were hundreds of, mobile operators there, all streaming live from their phones. So we've had to step out here. The turnout, you ask, not as much as, at least the people from the representatives of the Cockroach Janta Party would have expected. Mind you, they have over 22 million followers online. So one would expect at least 1,000 or thousands of people to, turn up for a protest like this. But so far, we've seen about a few hundreds of protesters there who are there, mostly Gen Z. Some of them have turned up with their parents, in fact. That was one of the advice by the, Cockroach Janta Party or the CJP founding members, that come with your parents, come with their support and tell them, what's happening with you is kind of wrong. But the turnout is not as much as, we would have expected. Because in the morning when we came up here, we had, dozens of police vehicles surrounding this protest site. And so the anticipation was such that, we thought that the police is prepared for a mass uprising today in Delhi. But so far, it hasn't got there. Mind you, we still have 4 more hours left while the protesters have the permission to protest there. So numbers might swell up later. But as of now, just a few hundreds of people out there.
Shala, by the way, as you're talking, we have some pictures playing next to you, and it looks like a good number of people. What are the main demands protesters are making today?
Well, the single biggest demand is the resignation of the Education Minister, Dharmendra Pradhan. Now, under his education ministership, there have been some scandals related to the examinations when it comes to the national level medical entrance exam, for which the entrance exam, the question paper was leaked, and that after 2.2 million students had already sat for their exams. And the founder of CJP, the Cockroach Janta Party, said that over 10 million students were affected by these irregularities, in the conducting of these exams. And then soon after, we had another scandal, which was about the marking of the 12th grade students of the country. Their markings was all over the place. Students who had done really well in their heads, at least, they think that their papers have gone really well. Their answer sheet was brilliant, but the marks didn't match up to that. And then slowly, what came out was that the marking system, the new marking system that the government had come up with, was not effective at all. So the single biggest demand is the resignation of the education minister. But of course, there are other issues that are surrounding the youth population of this country. Mind you, more than half the population, the 1.4 billion population of India, more than half of that is under 30s, and they are plagued by issues like unemployment and irregularities in examination system.
So what I'm hearing is this is really about the education concerns they have, but they're also concerned about jobs. Is youth unemployment really also at the core of the grievances that they have?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you cannot talk about this protest, and decouple it from unemployment. That has been an issue that has plagued the youth of this country for years now, and it's only compounded in the recent years. Just to give you a sense, the rate of unemployment amongst the under 30s in this country is over 9.9%. that's 3 times over the overall national rate of unemployment of the entire population, which is about 3%. So that gives you a sense of how acute this problem is. And there are qualified people who have done their degrees, they are MBAs or they're IT graduates, just can't find jobs. And part of it is because of the AI revolution, which is taking jobs. But then part of it is also the problem of, in the way that the Indian manufacturing sector has not picked up in the last few years under this government and has not managed to give jobs to these qualified youngsters.
Abhijit Dipka returned to India to lead these protests. How important has his role been in turning what was simply an online movement into real-world mobilization?
Well, it's a very interesting story, actually. Back then, this is about 3 weeks ago when I had interviewed Abhijit Dipke, just when he had come up with the idea of Cockroach Janata Party. Just to remind our audience, this was triggered by a comment by the Chief Justice of India, who during a hearing said that he basically referred to the youth, the unemployed youth, as cockroaches. And there he was, Abhijit Dipke, doing his masters in Boston, and he reacted on Twitter saying, how about the unemployed youth start a party called the Cockroaches Janata Party? And then people started responding to him online that let's do this. And within just a few days, there were millions of followers. And it was sort of like it started growing by the million, by the hour, and within just a week we saw 22 million followers. And that, I think, was a moment of reckoning for Abhijit Dipke, wherein he had to really take a call on whether he takes this movement, which is sort of like started online, where people started expressing their dissent, especially the youth, whether to take this to step 2 and really start asking for accountability from the government, use this online platform to ask for accountability. And here he is, having taken that decision to finally bring the movement to the ground. Now, my sense is that this kind of movement, especially in a context like India, it takes a bit of time to, really get to its climax. So today we are seeing a few hundreds of people here, but who knows where this is going to go. But pretty sure, having the conversations I've had with Abhijit Dipke offline and online in the past few days, I don't think he was expecting this.
Shala, you've had a moment, I'm sure a stretch of time, to talk to protesters there. What does the fervor and the composition of the crowd tell us about the movement's support base?
Oh, there were so many young kids who had turned up at the protest, and they turned up with their books, with their, with a bouquet of flower to present to the police in case the police was going to remove them from the site. So they came prepared, with things like Constitution of India in their hand, and the national flag and the masks of, cockroaches on their faces. And a lot of them, I noticed, were, school-going kids or, kids who had just started their college. And that is a reflection of the fact that the biggest issue is, in fact, unemployment coupled with the irregularities in the examination papers that have happened over the last 1 month. And the other thing I noticed was that some of these kids turned up with their parents, which is very interesting because the older generation of India traditionally has been the supporter of the current dispensation, the BJP government, while the younger generation, the Gen Z, is taking a stand against that government. So it was very interesting to see these two generations sort of like coming together and voicing their concerns at this protest.
The government has tried to portray the movement as anti-India. Is that argument gaining traction, or are protesters successfully framing this as a jobs and education issue?
It's interesting you use the word framing. So, from the government side or from the supporters of the Hindu nationalist government of the BJP, there has been a narrative that is being framed, which is to say that this is backed by some sort of foreign funding. It's been planted by some foreign forces who are trying to destabilize India, and they are called as the anti-national forces. One of the ministers, the BJP ministers, also said that their followers are mostly from Pakistan, but then the CJP founder released figures of their following off social media, and most of them were, in fact, from India. So, there has been this battle of narratives. Who's winning? It's very difficult to say, but both these narratives are having a life, on the streets of India.
Shalu, we don't want to get hyperbolic, but a good handful of youth movements have actually toppled governments. In fact, close to home there, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal come to mind. How seriously is the government taking this? Is there any indication that they're nervous?
Well, to take you back to when the Gen Z revolutions had happened in Bangladesh and Nepal, the Home Minister of India convened a meeting with the police chiefs and the security chiefs to sort of, come up with measures to prepare for if something like this happens in India. Now, that was months ago. Come today, this moment is beginning to sort of, take a shape in India. The Gen Z revolution, India's first Gen Z revolution. It's not a revolution, mind you. It's just a protest right now. But is the government nervous? We don't know. I mean, they have clearly allowed them to exercise their right to protest, which is really unusual for this government because over the last few years, the iconic site of Jantar Mantar where this protest is happening, almost every protest call has been denied by the government. They don't allow the protests to, go ahead. But this time they have allowed this to happen. But our sense is that that could also be, a sense from the government that they're trying to gauge the mood amongst the youth and see how many of them actually, turn up here.
So what do you know about what organizers are planning next, and what would they consider a successful outcome from today's demonstrations?
Well, the next step is it's quite hard for me to guess right now, but the one demand that they're standing solid on is the resignation of the education minister. That's the single biggest demand. And from there on, the spokespersons say that they will move on to other issues like there's inflation, there is unemployment, of course. But right now they're standing firm on their demand of, seeking the education minister's resignation. Now, the government has not budged, mind you. There hasn't been any sort of comment by the government acknowledging this protest or even acknowledging, the mistakes that have happened in the last few months in conducting the exams, as well as, the marking systems that have gone wrong for Gen Z. So it'll be interesting to see what the next step would be. But for now, because it's such an organic movement and it really started as a meme, it started as a satire. So, many analysts say that it's difficult for a movement like this to sustain without political backing of the opposition parties. But these guys don't want to be identified with any political party for now. So it's almost like a reminder of, what happened in Bangladesh, if you remember. Initially, they were not ready to associate themselves with any political party. Eventually, they came up with their own political party and allied with, another party. In Bangladesh, it was Jamaat-e-Islami. But in this case, it's it's early days, for us to really see where this is going. So wait and watch, and let's see where this goes.
We will be watching this space. Shalu Yada, it's an extraordinary story. Thank you. I suspect we'll check in on you soon. What do you think? How much of an impact can the Cockroach Janta Party really have? Let us know. I'm Michael Oku saying goodbye for now.